Way up.
The damage.
Must have been something, right? They're still there. I asked.
When it's dry, normally they just, they pull in, they park underneath their house.
For the next. Fire.
They're still there.
I asked.
When it's dry, normally they just, they pull in, they park underneath their house. Is it recording us? Still there. Are you recording this now?
Yeah. Just check to make sure.
Thanks, Tyler. All right, welcome everybody. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go ahead and open the city council regular meeting and call it to order. The Opens Meeting Act is posted on the wall to my right. This time we'll have roll call.
Jensen,
Yes.
Sukram,
Here.
Von Baron,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Here.
Jenkins,
Here.
Warner,
Here.
Deanna,
Here.
Lathrop. Here. 8 members of present mayor.
I do not have any comments tonight. We'll move on to item 1, a motion to adopt the current agenda for the November 12th, 2024 regular meeting. Councilwoman Ganem.
I move we adopt the current agenda for the November 12th, 2024 regular meeting.
Councilman Jensen.
I'll second that.
Okay, go ahead with the agenda roll call, please.
Okay. I'm sorry, I got the first one on the second.
Jensen was the
Okay, thank you very
second.
much.
Yep.
Sukram,
Yes.
Von Baron,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
Warner,
Yes.
Deanna,
Yes.
Lathrop.
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
the motion carries 8-0, mayor.
Moving on to public hearings is item 2, ordinance 5700, amending section 11-324.04E and G to allow the city council to waive minimum lot size requirements for lots platted prior to January 1st, 1971, to allow the construction of single-family detached or single-family attached two-family dwelling units and or a subdivision of a lot to allow the same, and we'll have a staff report.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, Jennifer Dam, Planning Director. This is a request. It had been associated with, but not directly tied to, a request that Habitat had to develop an attached two-family dwelling in one of the older parts of town, and then it would allow them to subdivide that so each half could be individually owned. They have subsequently withdrawn that request. There had been some opposition by some of the neighbors who had concerns about parking in that area, and they will be constructing a single family on that site. However, this request is still, I think, pertinent. It helps us fulfill our affordable housing action plan. This would apply to an area of town where the lots were platted, in many cases, part of the original town of Fremont, where there was an original plat, but then over time, before we had subdivision regulations, people would just sell off bits and pieces of the lots. So in some of those parts of town, you'll see large lots and you'll find some very small lots. There are a number of lots that have 2 single-family dwellings on one lot. That's the part G of this that would allow those to be subdivided in the AR or UR districts and have a small 3,500 is a pretty small lot, but those are existing today and seem to have worked pretty well so far. In the other areas, it would allow, again, smaller lots for single family or attached single family dwellings in that older part of town. Again, it would require a conditional use permit. It would require review by planning commission and city council to determine whether or not that was in fact in character with the neighborhood. And of course, public hearings on both. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Councilman Horner?
How would this work with, I don't have an address to give you or anything, Jennifer, and we could even talk later about this, but I am curious how this would work with thinking of a property over in Washington Heights. There's 2 duplexes on one parcel. They're separate buildings, everything like that. Imagine that when they build them, I haven't looked, but my guess is there may just be one sewer line serving both of those buildings.
It's kind of a different circumstance. Washington Heights was platted after 1971. In cases where you have a duplex on a property that could potentially be subdivided, they would need to provide an additional sewer and water service to the property. And we need to guarantee that there was a firewall separating the 2 units.
Okay,
And then, of course, you would have the other lot size.
so in the instance where you had a common sewer line serving both of those residences, you would require them to split that?
Yes, we would.
Okay. And then how would they go back and retrofit a firewall? Do you have any idea how that works?
Well, you have to make sure that that there is a firewall that goes all the way up through the attic to the ceiling. We've had a couple instances of that. And that you have I want to say it's 5/8 inch drywall on both sides.
Yep. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councilman Von Baron?
Yeah, I visited with Jennifer, but I think it might be useful. Could you just update us on the long-term zoning plan that we're waiting for?
Sure,
What that timetable is?
Yeah, there had been questions of why is this coming ahead of the updated UDC? And as I said initially, this had kind of been not tied, but associated with a request that Habitat had. So that's why we brought this ahead of the UDC. I'm anticipating a draft of the UDC just before Thanksgiving. Then bringing our planning commission subcommittee together, that first part in December, to go through what the changes are in the UDC with our planning consultant. We hope to have an open house after the holidays because we know nobody will have the intention for it before or during the holiday season. Ideally, we want to have the UDC on the planning commission agenda in January and then before the city council in February.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for staff? Thank you for that report. Any comments from the public on this item? Okay, seeing no comments, any additional comments from council? Councilman Horner?
No other comment for me, Mayor. All I was gonna say is if there are any other comments to make here, I was gonna make a motion that we pass ordinance 5700 amending section 11.324.04.
Okay, I have a couple lights, so I'll get to that motion. Councilman Von Baron?
Yeah, I talked with the Habitat for Humanity people just to get an idea of what they were doing, and then Jennifer, spent a little time with Jennifer on the phone. I really have no objection to this, but I think we're probably a little bit ahead of ourselves. Since the UDC normally is supposed to be coming into us within a couple of months. The other thing is, as you look at it, some of the definitions, for example, I think under 4E, or E4, I can't remember exactly which, it's basically, it says the council may set aside these. It starts feeling a little bit like our ordinances for community celebrations. You know, we said 11 o'clock and then we got requests for 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock or whatever. My understanding is that there will be provision for set-asides in this, but I would suggest, since we really, Habitat for Humanity's withdrawn the request, we're just a few months out from the UDC coming to us. What I would suggest is that I'd like to make a motion that we table this for now and bring it back when we have more definition of what the exceptions might be, what the set-asides might be. I think we've got the framework here, but I think that trying to leave it arbitrary and up to the council on individual lots is probably premature. So I'd like to make a motion that we can just table this. So we have more information.
That's a privileged motion. I had a motion prior to that motion to move, so.
I would handle the privilege motion first, see if there's a second or not, and then go back to the other one.
Okay, to motion to table is a privileged motion, so, I guess I'd take a second, is there a motion, is there a second? On that motion to table? I don't see a second, so the motion dies for lack of second. I go back to your motion to, hold first reading.
Yep.
So that's what this would be, Councilman Jensen.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, in reading this, this is only allowing council to waive the lot sizes for prior to 1971. This is only prior to 1971. And I think it's important to have some flexibility when we're working with these older parts of town and we want to get infill in there. And with that, if there's nothing else, I will second Blair's motion.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Sukram,
Yes.
Von Baron,
No,
Vaughn,
Yes.
Deacons,
Yes.
Horner,
Yes.
Ganna,
Yes,
Lathrop,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
motion carries 7-1, Mayor.
Our first reading.
Ordinance of the city of Fremont, Nebraska, amending exhibit B of ordinance 5427, specifically portions of the UDC, chapter 11, zoning, subdivision, and site development, exhibit B, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, and providing an effective date on first reading.
Okay, now move on to item 3, which is resolution 2024-256, approving a Lincoln Park second subdivision replat 2, final plat consisting of 2 lots generally located at 26th Street and Lincoln Avenue at the request of Terry McLean and Douglas Hartman. And we'll have staff report on this item.
Good evening, Jennifer Dam, Planning Director. This is a request to split a lot into 2 lots. It's a little bit bigger than they need for the man cave that they are building. And it meets all of our subdivision requirements. The only reason that we are doing it in front of the city council instead of administratively is the utilities department is requesting an easement. And we're not able to accept easements administratively. Again, it meets all of our requirements. They're providing the easement and staff recommends approval.
Questions for our planning director? Councilman Horner?
Just real quick, it's already been before planning commission and reviewed and they recommended 6-0 vote. Was there any discussion there about the easement or?
Not at all.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions for staff on this item? Thank you. Comments from the public on this? Seeing no comments from the public, are there any additional comments from council? If there are none, I will take the motion. Councilman Sukram?
I'll make the motion on resolution 2024-256.
Councilwoman Lathrop?
Second.
Call the roll.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Von Baron,
yes,
Sukram,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Ganna,
yes,
Horner,
Yes.
Deacons,
Yes.
the motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Moving on to the consent agenda, all items in the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council, will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or the citizen so requests. In which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda by council or staff? Any items from the public to be removed from the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, I take a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Councilwoman Deanna.
I move we accept the consent agenda.
Councilman Sukram.
I'll second.
Deacon,
Yes.
Horner,
Yes.
Ganna,
Yes,
Lathrop,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Sukram,
Yes.
Von Baron,
yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
the motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Moving on to unfinished business is item 11, ordinance 5698 for the annexation of property located at the extension of Heatherwood Drive between Peterson Avenue and Brentwood Drive. This is final reading. We've had extensive reports on this. This is again, final reading. Are there any additional questions from staff on this? Are there any comments from the public on this item? If there's no other comments from council, I would take a motion to hold final reading of ordinance 5698 for the annexation. Councilman Jensen.
I'll make the motion to hold final reading of ordinance 5698.
Councilwoman Lathrop.
Second?
Warner,
Yes.
Yenham,
Yes.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Sukram,
Yes.
Von Baron,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Dinkins.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Final reading.
An ordinance of the city of Fremont, Nebraska, annexing by voluntary petition property located in the southwest quarter of section 18, township 17, north, range 6 p.m., Dodge County, Nebraska, and generally located at the extension of Heatherwood Drive between Peterson Avenue and Brentwood Drive and westward to 12th Street, extending the corporate limits to include said real estate, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Final reading.
Please call the roll for the final vote.
Dinkins,
Yes.
Horner,
Yes.
Ganem,
Yes.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Sukram,
Yes.
Von Baron,
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Ordinance is approved 8-0, Mayor.
Moving on to item 12 is ordinance 5699 to adopt article 13 with small wireless facilities to chapter 3 of the Fremont Municipal Code regarding telecommunications, small wireless facilities. This would be for second reading and consider a request to suspend rules and move to final reading. We'll have a report.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, Jennifer Dam, Planning Director. This ordinance has come about as a result of a lot of work by the Planning Department, the Finance Department, and the Electric Utility. This will bring us into compliance with the Small Telecommunications, Small Wireless Facilities Act in the state statute. And it is something that the three departments will work together to enact and enforce as things come forward. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Councilman Horner.
Not a question, more of a comment. There was a concern raised from the public last council meeting about this in terms of relative safety, et cetera, for people. And, you know, I started thinking about that and you know, did as much research as I can or I could on it, just looking up. And I did find some relatively sound scientific studies and such regarding this that are saying that specifically these small wireless facilities emit so little radiation that there is none, if any, effect on humans or any other organisms in the environment. And the reason they can't rule it out is because they can't find any instances where it has, and then they can't test the distances, so they can't just say no. So they have to go through this long explanation of, you know, very low risk. So I don't think there's any health risk, in my opinion, from what I've read, regarding these devices.
Is there any other comments from the council this time? Thank you. Are there any comments from the public on this item? Okay, is there any additional comments from council? If there are none, this would be for second reading. Councilman Horner,
I'll make the motion to hold second reading on ordinance 5699.
Councilwoman Ganem,
I second.
Ganem,
Yes.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Sukram,
Yes.
Von Baron,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Dinkins,
Yes.
Horner.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
I'll have second reading.
An ordinance of the city of Fremont, Dodge County, Nebraska, to amend the Fremont Municipal Code by adding Article 13, small wireless facilities, Chapter 3 of the Fremont Municipal Code regarding telecommunications, small wireless facilities, to repeal conflicting ordinances that have previously been enacted, to provide for severability, and to provide for an effective date thereof. Second reading.
Councilman Jensen,
I'll make the request to suspend the rules and move ordinance 5699 into the third and final reading.
Councilwoman Lathrop,
Second.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Supram,
Yes.
Von Baron,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Dinkins,
Yes.
Horner,
Yes.
Ganem.
Yes,
The motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Go ahead.
An ordinance of the city of Fremont, Dodge County, Nebraska, to amend the Fremont Municipal Code by adding Article 13, small wireless facilities to Chapter 3 of the Fremont Municipal Code regarding telecommunications, small wireless facilities, to repeal conflicting ordinances previously enacted, provide for severability, and to provide for the effective date thereof on final reading.
Please call the roll for the final vote.
Dinkins,
Yes.
Horner,
Yes.
Ganem,
yes,
Lathrop,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Supram,
Yes.
Von Baron,
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
The ordinance is approved 8-0, Mayor.
Moving on to new business, item 13 is resolution 2024-261 to award the selection to Burns and McDonnell Engineering Company, Inc. for the development of the airport layout plan for the Fremont Municipal Airport. I'll now have staff report.
Hey, First Havens city engineer, as part of the 24-25 budget, the city has about $440,000 for engineering for the airport layout plan. We solicited requests for proposals, got 3 submittals. Kirkland Michael, Burns and McDonald, Kaufman Associates. Burns and McDonald was considered to have the best and most complete submittal. The FAA recommends that the selection process be done on qualifications and not include price. So as part of this, the recommendation is made to select the firm, and then we negotiate a contract, bring the contract and the price back to the city council for approval. So we're asking for the council to approve Burns and McDonald as the selected airport layout plan engineer.
Thank you. Any questions for staff this item? Thank you. Any comments from the public on this item? Any additional comments from council? There are none. Take a motion. Councilman Vaughn,
Motion to approve.
Councilman Sukram,
I'll second.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Supram,
Yes.
Von Baron,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Dinkins,
Yes.
Horner,
Yes.
Ganem.
yes,
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Thank you. Item 14 is resolution 2024-262 for the Department of Utilities Property and Liability Insurance Renewal Proposal from TRIA form for November 27th, 2024 to October 1st, 2025. We have 2 AEGIS quotes, 1 Everest quote, and November 27th, 2025, 1 Star quote. Go ahead.
Jennifer Nab, Finance Director, Honorable Mayor and City Council. This is our renewal for our insurance for the Department of Utilities. In the past, our broker would give us a couple of different quotes. We have a new broker this year. And so we've got 1 proposal, and within that proposal, there are 4 quotes. In addition, we are working to move the timing, the start and the end of our insurance to coincide with our fiscal year. One of the insurers preferred that we renew a full year through November, and then on October 1st, when we renew all of it, they'll cancel as of October 1st, and we'll get a credit back. So 3 of the quotes end September 30th, which is the end of our fiscal year. 1 continues on, but we plan on canceling that one, and we'll get about $94,000 back. So we've got our property and our liability as well as our excesses in this quote. The broker, I think, really did a fantastic job, went and looked at competition, let our current insurers know we were looking at competition. And so had we been renewing for the full year over year, it's only going up about 12%, which is fantastic in this market. Because 3 of them are only through 9/30, the price here is going up a little over 7%. Otherwise, the coverages are all the same. We do, with this insurer, these insurers, and with our broker, we are going to have reviews of our property values. So you will see that the property value is the same this year as last year. That is okay because our total insured value under these policies is with the excess up to 350 million. So whether we increased the 600 million or not, it really doesn't affect what the price would be. And I'm available for any questions.
Thank you for that report. Are there any questions? Don't see any. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any comments from the public on this item? Are there any additional comments from council? If there are none, I will take a motion. Councilman Jensen?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-262.
Councilwoman Lathrop?
Second. Jensen,
Yes.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Ganem,
Yes,
Horner,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Von Baron,
Yes.
Sucrum.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Item 15 is resolution 2024-263 to accept an itemized statement of cost, complete cost, tentative schedule of assessments and set date of the Board of Equalization for street improvement paving district number 553.
First Haven City Engineer, this is for the Howard Street improvements on South Howard. There was a paving district created. The paving is done and ready to be assessed to the adjacent property owners. Total cost of the project was $259,905.75. Of that, $181,492 is directly accessible. The reason the entire amount is not accessible is because the intersection was previously approved by council to be paid by the city, and the utilities were paid for by the city. Those we will recoup most of in connection costs for sanitary and for water. It also includes, the assessment also includes additional like administration, interest, notifications in the paper, mailing costs, stuff like that. So the total amount assessed is $202,256.93. It's assessed on the 7 lots on a per foot frontage basis. So it's depending on how much property you own along the new road affects how much you pay. The list of the lots and how much they're assessed are listed in the back. I can take any questions.
Councilman Horner?
Troy, when was the intersection, how long ago was it that the intersection was approved? Do you recall?
It would have been referenced, this all went through probably a year, maybe a little more than a year ago. I think what happened was the city used to pay the intersections. They stopped doing that.
Right.
The reason for that is the intersection here really is part of the larger area, and when it wasn't paved, what typically happens is in a subdivision, the costs of the intersections are reimbursed by the city, but because the intersection was no longer paid, this project probably wouldn't have been feasible because you would have had to split that intersection cost amongst 7 lots, which would have basically added about $8,000 to each lot. So I believe the city approved that the intersections are paid by the city, not because of what was previously done, but per the council action.
Do we feel like we're setting a precedent in the future for additional intersections to be paid for?
Wouldn't say that, no.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Lathrop?
I'm just curious as to what determines whether you sod the area or whether it's seeded when you do the concrete work and then go back and finish this?
Condition of adjacent properties and time of the year are the 2 biggest. You don't generally put sod back in an area where the grass is not fully grown or in like a 50-year-old condition, or you don't put sod back when it's the end of the year and you need to water and it's going to die over the winter. So it's generally a seed towards the end of the year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions for our city engineer? Don't see any, thank you. Are there any comments from the public on this item? Okay, seeing now, any additional comments from council on this item? There are none, I would take a motion. Councilman Sucrum,
I'll make the motion on resolution 2024-263.
Councilman Vaughn,
I will second.
Sucrum,
Yes.
Von Baron,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Dinkins,
Yes.
Horner,
Yes.
Ganem,
Yes.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
item 16 is resolution 2024-264, authorizing the mayor to sign the proof of loss from Star Specialty Lines Insurance Company related to damaged property related to the May 21st, 2024 storm damage. Staff.
Jennifer Nab, Finance Director. We had a May storm. This is now the Department of Utilities side. We already signed the proof of loss on the city side. The total damage was $2.4 million. There's $550,000 of possible recoverable depreciation if we do the repairs. So the net loss is 1.8 million. We have $100,000 deductible on the Department of Utility side. So with signing this, we will get a check for 1.768 million so that we can make the repairs we would like to make. And I'm available to answer any questions.
Questions? Councilman Vaughn,
Do we have plans to recoup most of that recoverable depreciation?
We do not. Many of the damages were cosmetic and on top of utility buildings that aren't frequented by the public. So each of the superintendents did assessments, and we are meeting again with the insurance. And so there is quite a bit of that we probably won't recover because it's cosmetic.
Is there an opportunity though to have it replaced on someone else's dime per se, the insurance company, even though it's aesthetic damage only?
We are absolutely looking at that. We have taken the first pass from the superintendents. And then Troy and Jeff and I are meeting with the person who did the assessments and with our insurance brokers. And we're gonna have them look at it and assess that very thing.
Case by case basis kind
Case
of
by
thing?
case basis, item by item. That's exactly right.
Thank you.
any other questions? Thank you. Are there any comments from the public? Yes. Are there any additional comments from council? There are none, I would take a motion. Councilman Vaughn,
Make the motion to approve.
Councilwoman Ganem,
Second.
Von Baron,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Dinkins,
Yes.
Horner,
Yes.
Ganem,
Yes.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Sucrum.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
item 17 is resolution 2024-265, awarding Fremont storm sewer cleanout jetback services to HydroClean LLC.
Crocheman, city engineer, city went out for bids for jet backing and storm sewer clean out of basically 100% of the city's storm sewers. There's a lot of material, sand, gravel, stuff in the storm sewers, and as part of the analysis of our system, any material that we can get out of the storm sewer in theory should result in less water in the streets or in yards. So we went out for bids. We got one bid. It was from HydroClean for $1.9 million. Our estimate was in the 3 to 3.5 range. So it was actually a very, very good bid. The 1.9 is going to be paid for out of ARPA funds. So we're asking for approval to award to HydroClean in the amount of $1.923 million.
Councilman Vaughn,
So our sanitary and storm sewers aren't fully independent of each other, right? They are connected.
They are. No, they're not connected.
They're not connected.
Fully independent yet.
Okay,
And this is not for sanitary sewer. This is only for storm sewer.
we will still handle the sanitary on our own with our own crews.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Horner,
How often does this kind of operation need to be done? Is the cost indicative of maybe some deferred maintenance here, or?
I would say yes, we have a crew that does sanitary and storm sewer. Anytime they get into the storm sewer, they've sent us pictures. I believe I've shown pictures of what would be, I would say, some of the worst areas, but for example, they could do our guys in a jet truck can do a 300-foot run of sanitary sewer in a couple hours and be done with it. Storm sewer, that same length, it might take them 2 days if it's full, so. The idea is that it would be handled in-house and that they do all that maintenance in-house. We don't have the manpower right now to get the storm sewers done or get caught up to a point where the maintenance is, I'll say, achievable. The idea would be we get to every storm sewer every 4 or 5 years, but the way the conditions are now, and I don't think we could do that. This $1.93 million bid is basically, they're gonna bring in 4 trucks and they're gonna run 4 trucks 8 hours a day for 2 straight years. From basically April-ish to November-ish, weather pending. So that's what it is. We have 1 crew that we're asking to do sanitary and storm sewer. We're estimating that this is gonna basically take 4 crews 2 full years to complete. The ARPA funds dictate that it has to be done by December 31st of 2026. I think just to be safe, I think I said they had to submit their last pay estimate by November 30th so that we don't start rubbing up against that date. But I mean, weather pending in November of 2026, we're hoping that we can have 100% of the storm sewer done. This is an estimate because there is no way right now to gauge exactly how much material is in the storm sewer. And so we took a guess. We know we have about 30 miles of storm sewer. And so we assumed they were 25 to 33% full on average. Some are going to be 75%. Some are going to be none. I mean, the brand new sewers are going to have none in them and we won't clean those. But the bulk of the time should be spent just taking material out of the storm sewer. We're going to set up a screening machine. They have to have a screening machine on site. We're going to put them down at the old dump site where the forestry takes all the trees. They're going to take all their material there, screen it, get all the trash out, deliver it to the waste transfer station. And then we're going to save the material for fill material on future projects. So we're going to retain what's in the sewer as fill material for roadways and stuff like that, where the subgrade maybe or the base grade is the better.
Just last question, is this something that we should be looking at on a some sort of a normalized schedule where it becomes a budget item for us? So we won't have ARPA funds forever, right?
Right. No, this is 2 years and then it would be a substantial budget item. I guess I don't know the answer to that. I'd have to wait and see in 2 years, see how far our guys in the single jet truck could get. Either you do this or you'd have to hire another crew, maybe with 2 guys. At that point, you'd have to evaluate the economics of it, which I honestly haven't gotten to that point yet, so. I guess the plan would be to do this, hopefully get everything out, monitor what our guys can do for maybe a year or 2, see if they're falling behind again, and if they are, maybe look at something this again. Tell you if we get another flood like we did in 19, we're gonna have to do this again because I'm certain the bulk of the time is going to be spent on the south. I'm sure all those sewers are just full of sand. They're probably 75% full of sand.
Okay, well, it certainly helps us understand the scope. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for that report. Are there any comments from the public? Any additional comments from council? Councilwoman Gannon?
No, I'd just like to thank Troy for his work with this, and I'm certainly glad to see that the direction we're going to take is that we're going to implement some type of system where you check it every so often or inspect them. So thank you.
Councilman Jensen?
I don't know if there's any further, if there's no further comment, I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2024-265.
Councilman Sukram?
Is it Was it 266?
No, we're at 265.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I'll second that, yep.
okay.
Bond,
Yes.
Akins,
Yes.
Warner,
Yes.
Ganem,
Yes,
Lathrup,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes,
Sukram,
Yes,
Von Baron.
Yes.
The motion carried 8-0, Mayor.
Right, and item 18 is resolution 2024-266 to award the Fremont Stormwater Master Plan Services to JEO Consulting Group, Inc. Staff report.
Troy Shaven, city engineer, so in conjunction with the last item, this is for the stormwater master plan. The city went out for requests for proposals, they received 4. JEO was deemed to have the most complete proposal. This basically involves creating a model of the entire city, the 2-mile ETJ, the rawhide north and east and west of the city, and basically doing an analysis over the entire city and creating what I'm gonna call a 3D model. They call it a 2D model, but it is a 3D model where we'll have a plane perform a LiDAR survey, which is basically, it's a light. It's LIDAR, light and reflective data or something like that. They basically fly over the ground with, hundreds of lasers, and it measures the topography of the city of Fremont to within 3 inches. It'll give us basically a model of the city, which they can then input our storm sewer data, our ditch data, our culvert data. They can analyze the rawhide downstream. They can create a 3D model with which then they can input a storm to travel over the city of Fremont at any intensity they want, so they could recreate a storm like we had with a 7-inch rain in a couple hours. And then take that, it'll show them where the water ponds, what yards get water in it, where the storm sewers are not at capacity. And they'll be able to make recommendations for what I'll call the low hanging fruit, or most bang for the buck. Bang for the buck. Most bang for the buck, like if you've got a 15-inch sewer in one area and upgrading a 50-foot section of 15 to a 24-inch might relieve a lot of that flooding in a certain area. So this will create a really good model with which we can analyze, predict, and improve the drainage in the city of Fremont. And as part of this, I mentioned, they'll do a full LiDAR survey. They'll do a full 3D imagery survey, it's a big deal. I mean, so this is ARPA money. It's paying for the LiDAR, it's paying for the imagery. It's a $400,000 number, but that's gonna be able to be used by every department in the city with our GIS system. It's gonna be able to use by planning to determine elevations on houses, floodplain certificates, how high the road needs to be built. It's gonna be able to be used by inspections south where they had flooding and they had a lot of damage, and they have to determine how high a house maybe has to be raised before it can be improved so that the flooding doesn't affect it anymore. The LiDAR part of it is a really, really interesting part, and it'll be a big benefit for the city. I know when I talked to Noah, who's our GIS, and Jennifer Dam, they were both very, very excited to hear that the LiDAR and that the imagery were part of this. So we would ask that it be awarded to JEO. It's a not to exceed $1.802 million. You'll see the items are listed in the back. It's a not to exceed. We don't have to do all those items. Those items are in there because they were part of the, preliminary stormwater items that Justin Zetterman had worked with multiple firms on. And so they're included in there. It includes the large basin south of the power plant, so that if the rawhide on First Street starts to back up, it has approximately, it was about 33 million gallons worth of capacity in that basin once it's fully built out. And then there'll be also the improvements to Johnson Lake, which will function as a overflow structure for that creek also. So that's included in here. If we get to the end and there's an overrun in one area and maybe not enough in another area, we don't have to do all the items. So this is a not to exceed 1.802 million.
Councilman Vaughn.
So we just got done talking about how some of the sewers systems, maybe on the south side of town in particular, could be as full as, we don't know, very full, maybe 75% full. Will they operate under the assumption that those will be cleared out and use that modeling, or will they go with the reduced capacity?
The idea would be that they would do it under best case conditions, that after we got it cleaned out, they're being done in conjunction. So the analysis would most likely be done with them full. It would not take much for them to change that. Once you have the elevations of the inlets and the flow lines, you can assign a number to anything you want, and that's a relatively easy process. So they could do the calculations with 75% full or with 0% full, and it would only take, you know, somebody who knows what they're doing, it might only take them an hour or maybe a half a day to change that to get it to function. They can really run any scenario you have. I mean, we have also out right now, water and sewer models that basically will allow us, as development comes in or new neighborhoods come in, it basically tells us, you know, what's that gonna do to the pressure of the surrounding area? What kind of upgrades do we need? Again, maybe changing one pipe for 50 feet might result in saving, you know, millions of dollars on having to extend a much larger main to an area. So it's a model. It's one of the best things you can do. Takes a lot of work to get that model done. I mean, the model's only as good as the information you put into it. So that's why the master plan is, I mean, it is a lot of money, but it provides a lot of value.
Thank you.
Councilman Jensen?
Yeah, just saying in that vein, once you have this model, this map, this plane, I mean, as long as the Fremont doesn't change drastically, that's a model that's going to be good and used for years, if not decades into the future. Is that not correct?
So these are ARPA funds, you're correct. If nothing changed, you wouldn't see, or you wouldn't need to update it very much if it didn't change. I'm hoping it does change a lot, because that means we're growing. This is the ARPA, this is to get the model built. After this is done, we are gonna have to budget an amount with them to maintain it and then to add it and analyze it as it goes on. So if a large development comes in way north of town, they would have to put that in, get all the criteria, all the data in, and then it would update. That's gonna be an annual fee. Once this is done, it'll be an ongoing, I'll call it a maintenance cost, but they'll have to continue to update it, yes.
Councilman Von Baron?
Yeah, I know when we first announced that we were gonna use our ARPA funds primarily for flood control, there were a lot of eyebrows raised and questions asked and saying basically, aren't there better needs or bigger needs that we have as a city? But I really appreciate what you're doing, Troy. Between the storm sewer maintenance, between the model, these are basically grassroots, ground level stuff that going to benefit the city for years to come. So I will take back all of my reservations and say thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments from the council? Anybody from the public here to speak on this item? Councilman Horner?
If there are no other comments from council, I would make a motion that we approve resolution 2024-266 to award the Fremont Stormwater Master Plan Services to JEO.
Councilwoman Yanum?
A second,
Jenkins,
Yes.
Horner,
Yes.
Ganem,
yes,
Lathrop,
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Supram,
Yes.
Von Baron,
Yes,
Vaughn.
Yes.
The motion carries 8-0, Mayor. Thank you.
Item 19 is resolution 2024-267, authorizing the purchase of a subscription to Teletrack Navman for a multi-year subscription to Teletrack Navman, which is a GPS and maintenance program with in-vehicle AI cameras.
Mayor, City Council, Jeff Shanahan, Utility Manager. We put all vehicles within the city and utility under one umbrella. Ryan is our fleet manager. And so when he came on board, we didn't have a fleet maintenance program. So we started looking at fleet maintenance programs, working with some department heads to figure out what we really needed to track all of our vehicles. So they went out and they talked to a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of vendors. We also wanted to be able to have GPS on some of our vehicles so that in the event of a storm or an emergency, we can look at the computers and we can spot where the closest vehicle is to respond to the incident. So, and then with some of the other vehicles that are like in service trucks where they're have a lot of exposure on the roads, we wanted to put in cameras on those vehicles. So in the event that they're in an accident, we have something to protect this city and the utilities. So when we went out and started trying to pile all those together and make a package that all speak together, maintenance, GPS, and cameras, there were only 2 vendors that would do all 3 of them and bring them into one package. So then we said we have roughly about 220 vehicles that we would like to build a system around where some vehicles would have cameras and GPS, some would only be tracked for maintenance, some would only have GPS, that kind of thing. So we built our database and asked them for prices. And Teletrack came up with the most cost-effective monthly and annual fees. It does include some of the vehicles are seasonal. So what they're doing is they're allowing us to basically pay for half a year on those seasonal vehicles. This is a 3-year agreement, but the seasonal vehicles would be for 6 years. In the event that we decide we don't want to stick with Teletrack after 3 years, then that 6-year agreement goes away. It's part of their contract. So we think this is going to be very beneficial. It's going to allow us, like I said, to keep track of the maintenance on our vehicles. The numbers of inventory will change as we go, as vehicles are traded in, as we consolidate job duties and do those kind of things. Vehicles will come in and out of the system, and then the price monthly will be adjusted. So that's what we have.
Councilman Vaughn?
Does this include police and fire?
No, there are, well, their vehicles will be in here. They've already got the cameras and the GPS through a different system that they use for police force.
Is there any problem integrating, or, so we're gonna do the basic track and trace version of this system?
Yeah.
In
this
those
will-
that are already
right,
outfitted
we'll
with cameras?
Put all the police vehicles into this system, track their oil changes, track their, all that kind of stuff. But their cameras will be part of their police cameras for their investigation type stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Dinkins?
Wasn't really clear, or we have to buy the boxes, or the boxes are part of this contract,
Right, they're part of the contract.
so we're not.
We're
upfront
basically
costs.
leasing it, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Councilwoman Ganem?
No, just out of curiosity, about how many vehicles? do we
About
have?
220 vehicles that we're gonna have, that are gonna be a part of this system. Like,
Okay,
you know, the loaders at the power plant aren't gonna be on GPS and all that kind of stuff. So,
We know where they are.
Any other questions? Thank you.
thank you.
Any comments from the public on this item? Okay. Any additional comments from council? If there are none, I would take a motion, resolution 2024-267. Councilman Jensen,
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2024-267.
Councilman Sukram,
I'll second.
Horner,
Yes,
Hannah,
yes,
Ranger,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes,
Sukram,
Yes,
Von Baron,
Yes,
Vaughn,
yes,
Dinkins,
Yes,
motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Councilman Jensen,
make the motion to adjourn.
Councilman Sukram,
I'll second.
Vaughn,
yes.
Von Baron,
yes.
Sukram,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Ladra,
Yes.
Hannah,
yes.
Horner,
Yes.
Dinkins,
yes.
motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
we are adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.
And congratulations to everybody who won the elections last Tuesday.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.